And today at the Linux Certification Virtual Summit, we have a renowned Linux author who I am delighted to be speaking with. His name is Sander van Vugt. Sander, how are you?
I'm fine, Tiffany. Thank you.
Thank you. So tell me, who is Sander?
So I'm a Linux professional living in the Netherlands. And yeah, I make my life out of doing Linux related stuff. Uh, Most important thing that I'm doing is that I'm working as a technical trainer and as an author. And as an author, I've written some books on Linux and recorded a few video courses as well. Apart from that, I'm working for customers all over the world to work, to deliver training, of course, and to work on technical projects as well, to help them troubleshooting or creating Linux-based solutions.
Perfect. That sounds great. So, what made you decide to become a Linux certified professional?
Well, to start with, I became a Linux professional because when I became a Linux professional, that started in about 1995, there wasn't much certification around in those days. And as the markets grew bigger, customers started asking for certification. And as I'm an instructor, that's business for me. So I want to know what these certifications are about so that I can teach my audience how to get these certifications. And of course, to be a good instructor, if I need to explain about some of the certifications, I need to have them myself as well. So that's basically why I have become a certified professional.
Perfect, perfect. So, you are a Linux trainer. How did you decide to become a Linux trainer in addition to be Linux certified?
Well, I think it's the other way around. I think that back in 1968, I was born as a trainer. I like explaining stuff, and I have always liked it. And that's basically what I do. That's why I write books. That's why I record video courses, and that is why I teach classes. And Linux, well, that may have happened by accident. I got around it back in 1991 in the beginning, and I liked it. And I noticed that it was really something that was created by programmers. So that made it quite difficult for ordinary people. And I like to clarify things and to present difficult things in a way that makes it easy to understand, so that people can actually work with it and do their jobs based on that knowledge. So yeah, so basically, I'm a trainer, and Linux came in by accident just when I finished university. I picked it up, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Perfect. That's a wonderful story. So, can you just tell us a little bit of what Linux certifications you hold?
That's a good question because I need to think about it. Uh, I am an RHCE and an RHCSA, of course. And I've got some Red Hat certificates of expertise as well. Apart from that, I have the Linux Foundation LFCE. Being an instructor for Linux Foundation, that's just kind of what my audience is expecting. I have LPI 1 and LPI 2. I did an attempt on LPI 3, but I didn't like the way that LPI organizes their exams. So I didn't continue on LPI 3. And I also have CompTIA Linux Plus. As you get it for free when you are LPI. And I am SUSE certified Linux. Linux professional and Linux administrator. So basically, I think I've got most of them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, the thing I want to talk about today is the Red Hat Certified Engineer exam. So, just really quickly, how did you prepare for that RHCE?
Well, that's pretty easy. I have been a Red Hat instructor. I worked for Red Hat as a contractor for a couple of years. And being a contractor, you can sit in class, and I just attended a class with a wonderful instructor here in the Netherlands. His name is Wander Boesekel, and he's really great. And he taught me all the bits I was still missing. And at the end of the week, there was the exam, and I passed.
Great, great. So, were there any study habits you developed while you were preparing to take the Red Hat Certified Engineer exam, or was your experience that you already had with Linux what propelled you to just go ahead and take it and pass in addition to your mentor?
Well, I think in order to pass the RHCE exam, people should know what they're doing. Uh, I have had people in class that just sit a class for a couple of days, normally a 4-day class, and at the end of the week they take the exam. And if these are people that have never done anything related to RHCE before, then they'll fail the exam. And I think the essential part of becoming an RHCE, in RHCE, Red Hat is measuring real skills. So you need to know how to do the job. And you also need to know how to do the job when the circumstances get a. And that means that you need to do it, and you need to do it again, and you need to do it again, and you need to do it once more. And that is basically why Red Hat is also saying that an RHCE typically has like 3 years of Linux experience. And that's really what they are measuring. And yeah, that is the most important thing for anyone to do who wants to become an RHCE. Just sitting a class isn't enough for this exam because it's a difficult one.
Thank you for that. Are there any specific resources that say would help someone like me prepare for the RHCE besides the classroom?
Oh, yes, there are. Use my products, please. So, yeah, let's try to not focus it on exclusively on what I've done. There's a couple of books that prepare for RHCSA, RHCE. In order to become RHCE, you need to be an RHCSA as well, and studying those books might be a good start, including my book, of course. Then there is a couple of video courses. Well, I think there is just one video course that is not Red Hat, and that's mine. This video course is an excellent source to prepare for RHCE because, in a real life classroom, if the instructor goes too fast, he's just going too fast, and you cannot hit the pause button and rewind and play it again. And in a video course, you can do that as well. Apart from that, those are commercial products, and not everybody wants to pay for the commercial products. There is sufficient free resources available as well. So there's a couple of YouTube channels, including my own channel, where different people are presenting materials that prepare for the RHCE exam. I do have to warn people that want to get RHCE, though. The quality of what I found on YouTube isn't always that high. There is some videos presented there that have been created by people that are an instructor and really know what they're talking about, or they're a consultant and they know what they're talking about. But I have also seen some resources on YouTube that just explain stuff that is wrong. So yeah, that's something to carefully consider. If you want to take the Red Hat resources, Red Hat, of course, is providing classroom training. They also are providing online training, and they have this thing called the Red Hat Learning Subscription, which provides people with access to online course content for Red Hat courses for over a year, which is an interesting resource for getting the required information as well. So yeah, basically, there's a lot out there.
Thank you. So what is the name of your book so people can go ahead and get that, and also the name of your YouTube channel?
So my YouTube channel, that is R Hat Cert. That is R for red and hat well, for Red Hat, but I couldn't call it Red Hat, of course, because of legal issues. So Red Hat without the ED and cert for certification. Or just look up my name on YouTube and you will find my videos as well. My book is the RHCSA RHCE 7 Cert Guide, which was published by Pearson. And my video courses, these are the RHCSA and RHCE live lessons complete video course or something like that, also published by Pearson.
Perfect, perfect. So what commands, of any, should someone focus on knowing before they take the RHCE exam?
You know, RHCE is about configuring services. So those who just focus on learning commands, they're going to miss something. Because just based on the commands, you type a command, you get a result. That is not RHCE. That is more like RHCSA. So for RHCE, people should focus on services. And some of the important services include, for example, Kerberized authentication. Setup of NFS server, including Kerberized authentication, setting up a Samba server, setting up Apache, shell scripting, iSCSI connections for storage, databases using MariaDB. And these are pretty much the most important topics on our HCE.
Great, thank you. So what about IP tables as well? Is that important to know on the exam?
Yeah, that's a good question. Red Hat currently is implementing Firewall D as a replacement for IP tables. So people don't have to work with IP tables, but they should know Firewall D. Oh, and I was missing SE Linux as well. SE Linux is, of course, a very important solution for security in a Red Hat environment that allows administrators to protect the services that they are running. And you definitely need to know how to implement SE Linux in a context where an Apache server and an NFS server and all those other services are running as well.
Great, great. What about hardening of Linux server in general? Do you need to know that for the exam as well?
Not really. After the RHCE, Red Hat is providing the RHCA, that is Red Hat Certified Architect. The candidate needs to take no less than 5 different exams to become an RHCA. And server hardening is one of the exams that leads to the RHCA certification. So they have kind of separated the real hardening information. They've taken it out of RHCE and moved it to the server hardening exam.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So what is the best way to navigate taking the RHCE exam, as I know it's a hands-on exam?
Yeah, so people go sit behind the exam machine, and that can be classroom, that can be kiosk. The difference is that in classroom you are with other candidates and there's a proctor who's available on site, and in kiosk there's a remote proctor. If by any means it's possible, I would recommend to take a classroom exam because it's so useful to have the instructor on site in case there are problems. So the candidate will be presented first with the exam environment that consists of a couple of virtual machines and questions. Now the interesting thing is that those questions, these are the real assignments that people need to take. But before getting there, there's an introduction. And from what I'm hearing back from the field is that people don't like reading the introduction. So this introduction is very important, contains important information about the setup and everything that needs to be done. So the first thing that's really important is read the introduction and next read the questions. Now be prepared for quite a lot of assignments. Let's call them assignments instead of questions, because really it's tasks that need to be performed on the environment. So there's quite a lot of them. And many people get a problem dealing with all of the assignments within the time limits that they've got. So the best thing to do is to read through all of the assignments to make a difference between the assignments that you do know the answer to and assignments that you have no clue what to do. Start on the easy ones, work on those, and do the more difficult ones later. Also important, when reading through the assignments, try to analyze and see if there is any relation between the assignments. So that means that you may need to set up networking, for instance, before you can set up your Apache server. Those kind of relations are very important. So make sure that you recognize those relations and you work on the prerequisites before working on the other assignments that depend on the prerequisites. And finally, try reading. People in IT, they don't read anymore. They just scan. They scan a web page for information, and normally people don't read entire sentences. They scan for words and they think they know what they should do. On RHCE, that's a very bad approach. So read the questions to make sure that you understand what it is that actually you need to be doing.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So just a few takeaways for everyone to remember. He said, read the questions, and you will possibly just succeed and know what you need to do for the exam. Thank you so much for that. So comparing the RHCE to the RHCSA and other exams like CompTIA Plus or the LPIC 2, how would you rate the difficulty for the RHCE compared to those exams?
RHCE is more difficult than any of those. CompTIA Linux Plus is an introduction level, as is the case for RHCSA. LPIC 2 is, well, it's more difficult than CompTIA Linux Plus or LPIC 1 or RHCSA. But the difference between RHCE and LPIC 2 is in LPIC 2, a candidate needs to be able to recognize the correct answer because it's a multiple choice exam. In RHCE, the candidate really needs to build a solution. And that goes beyond recognizing just one of the answers. To build a solution, you need to know what you're doing, and you need to go through a complicated procedure on many occasions. And that makes RHCE really much more difficult than any of these other exams. I would say there's only one exam currently that's at the same level as RHCE, and that would be the Linux Foundation Certified Engineer. They're taking the same approach, and that's the only one that you can compare. All the other ones you just mentioned are just easier.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So I want to segway a little bit to your Linux books that you've written. Thus far, I see that you wrote 63 Linux books. So I want to know kind of what inspired you to write these books, and can you give any specific details on what these books may focus on, or some of them? Because I know 63 is a lot. So just some of your books that you feel the content it's more greater than the others.
Let me give you a couple of examples. There's a lot of books that I've written in my native language, which is Dutch. And I guess that most of your audience doesn't read Dutch. But it is interesting because I can answer your first question. What inspired me? Well, what inspired me was the lack of decent procedures. And as I explained earlier, I like explaining how it works to people in a clear way that uses examples and so on. And you don't get that through man pages. So I wanted to create something that I was proud of, that is usable and that helps people getting forward in their work. And that is really something that motivates me. If I can help people getting forward in their work, then I've had a good day. When I get an email message from someone who told me, hey, I've read your book and it's great and it helped me pass the exam, that makes me happy. So that's one of the things. Now, I started in my native language, Dutch, and I soon figured out that the Dutch market is quite small because there's about 20 million Dutch-speaking people on the entire planet, and that's not much. And that is why I moved over to English. And fortunately, I found a couple of publishers that wanted to publish my work, including my current publisher, which is Pearson Education. Now, let me give you 3 examples of books that I've written in English and how they relate to what I'm doing. Example number 1 is Beginning the Linux Command Line. That's a basic book that I have written to be accessible to anybody who wants to start working with Linux. So it's about 400 pages, and at the end of the 400 pages, you will be at the level that you can start your work as a Linux administrator. That's one of the types of books that I've written for kind of a bigger market. That is like RHCSA and RHCE. You know, the reason why I wrote my RHCSA, RHCE 7 Cert Guide is that I wasn't happy with the material that was currently available on the market. Some authors have written books on the subject matter in the past years, and I didn't like that too much. And I have used it, and I thought I can do better. So that's exactly what I did. And I did that with good luck because RHCSA, RHCE 7 Cert Guide has become a bestseller. This book is doing very well. And as you can imagine, I'm getting royalties and bestsellers are making me happy. Mm-hmm. But I'm not just doing it for the royalties. To give you one more example, I have written a book that has the name Pro Linux High Availability Clustering. I can tell you, if it were for the revenue, I would have been better off taking a job at the local McDonald's because the book is selling pretty badly. And but you know, that doesn't really matter because the book provides in a need that a limited amount of people has. And it was the result of some good consultancy jobs that I've taken. So this book started as documentation that I created for my customers, and then I put it in a bigger context, and that took me like 2 weeks of work or something like that. Really not much. And the result was a nice book that focuses at a very specific market, and that helps people in that market as well, and it's providing information that's not available anywhere else. And that is the big picture of what I want to do with my books. I want to fill in the gaps and not try to repeat what everybody else has already been doing, but I want to do something new and something that helps people getting forward with their work. To give you one example, that's not a book, that's a video course that I'm going to record next week in the Pearson recording studio. We call it Linux Under the Hood. You know, so many people that are using Linux and that are typing commands and they're getting the results that they expect from the command. But Linux Under the Hood is going to explain what really is happening without the need of being a C programmer. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. Information that helps people getting forward in their life and being successful in their career.
Wow, thank you so much. This is wonderful information. So how can folks obtain a copy of your best-selling book, and how can people sign up for the Linux Under the Hood video when you finish it?
So the best way of getting in touch is by registering on one of my websites. I have one website which is sandervanvugt.com. That's just my name, .com. It's an English language website that provides an overview of everything that I have done. And there's another one which is rhatcert.com, which is about the Red Hat certification related products. On both websites, the best thing that anyone could do is to sign up for my newsletter. They will get a low-volume newsletter. That's about once a month, in which I'm providing information on what I've done, and I'm providing discount codes on my products. And through the websites, there's a web store where they can purchase all of my products, including the upcoming Linux Under the Hood video course.
Perfect, perfect. So, how has being a Linux author, instructor, and Linux certified, how has it impacted your life? You did mention that you have a consultant business, so I'm assuming that having all these Linux accolades has also helped you professionally as well. Can you just elaborate on some of that?
Yeah. So, you know, Linux certification is kind of a proof that you know what you're doing. And from that perspective, Linux certification didn't impact my life that much because I have written 63 books. And the funny thing about writing a book is that normally when you are at the end of the procedure, then you also know what you are doing. So if I'm looking at my current customer base, many of the customers are attracted by the fact that I have written books. I would say that writing books is like a super certification that goes beyond anything else. But it comes together with the certification. In order to write decent books, to provide trustworthy information, it really helps if you are certified and if you can prove that you are at a specific kind of level. And yeah, that has impacted my life in a way that it allows me to create a pretty successful business. I have customers all over the world, and yeah, I can't complain about what I'm doing. Uh, it also impacts my life in a way that I have a very irregular life. Sometimes I have weeks that I spend working from home, working at one of my upcoming books or doing a remote support for some customers. And other times I'm traveling the planet. I've been away for 20 weeks in total to some foreign countries in the last year. And that's an impact on my life as well. So yeah, it has impacted my life in several different ways.
Perfect. The 20 weeks you were away, was that Linux work based or was it just kind of like vacation or something?
No, that was all Linux work based.
Wow. Great, great.
I
So,
have traveled the planet last year because of Linux.
okay, great, great. I think that's great for folks to know that with being Linux certified and having a passion for Linux, you can actually impact the world, number one, and you can help people and you can just travel the world. So thank you
Yeah,
for telling us that. Yeah. So I know you have to go soon. Just a few more questions.
let's just continue. I'll hook up with the session once we're done.
Okay, thank you so much. So I just want to know from you, for the person like myself or the people that are listening, what advice would you give us before we begin taking the Red Hat Certified Engineer exam, besides knowing that we have to take the Red Hat Certified System Admin exam? Is there any other particular advice you can give?
Yeah, practice a lot. Practice really a lot. And make sure that you get the right idea about what is on the exam. And make test exams. Well, I know my book, for example, I'm providing 4 different test exams in my book. Make all of them and make sure that you know what you're doing. Also, make sure that you know how to verify once you're at the end of one of those test exams. Because on the real RHCE test, you need to verify for yourself as well. This is a problem that many people do not understand. You know, I have written test exams in my book, and the idea of a test exam is really to allow people to measure their skills and see if they match up to what they are doing on the exam. And sometimes people are sending me email, "Hey Sander, do you have the answers for the test exams?" And then, well, no, I don't have answers because on the RHCE test, you don't get answers either. If you are worthy of becoming an RHCE, then you know how to test the solutions that you have built, and you know that you can verify it for yourself. And yeah, and you can prove for yourself that everything is okay. So that is maybe one of the most important hints for people that think they are ready for the exam. Take a test exam, work through it, verify everything, and if you've got the good feeling like, hey, everything is working, I've done a nice job, then probably you are ready to take the RHCE test.
Perfect. Thank you. So, are there any particular blogs or podcasts that you may frequent to keep your Linux skills current? I know as an instructor, though, it allows you to stay involved in Linux and things like that.
You know, to be honest, there is none of them. But I'm in a fortunate situation that I can attend conferences around the planet. I like meeting people for real and talking to those people and listening to the short sessions that typically you get on conferences like LinuxCon or linux.conf.au or Red Hat Summit or the SUSE conference. I like meeting real people, talking to them, and asking smart questions. And the best way of doing so is by getting in touch with those people, well, for real. If it's about new information and if it's new topics that I need to learn, then I like taking classes. Not so long ago, I took a class on embedded Linux, for example. And taking a class is an excellent way of, well, locking yourself out of the rest of the world for a week or so to focus on a new product, and that's how I acquire new knowledge. And you know, the information that is provided through blogs, that is interesting information, but often it's it's just a tiny little bit of information. And I don't like tiny little bits of information. I like information that I can put in context. Because if it fits into the bigger picture of the framework of knowledge that I already have, then then it's so much more effective. And that's how I'm acquiring my knowledge.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think what you said about meeting people in person, it's it relates to the way we've communicated as people
Yeah,
before technology. You know, with
yeah,
technology, it's a good and it's a bad thing, but being able to speak to someone in person and have that personable conversation, I think that's great. And you learn more. That's what I
yeah.
feel.
You know, in Dutch we have a saying that is 1 plus 1 equals 3. You take the knowledge of one person, you take the knowledge of another person. Normally that's 2, right? 1 plus 1 equals 2. But if these two people are talking together, they are inspiring one another and they come together to completely new ideas. And that is such a nice way of moving forward in the way that you are dealing with your knowledge. So
I
I really
agree.
believe that that is essential.
Yes, I totally agree with you as well. So, what do you think Linux will evolve into 5 years from now?
So I think Linux has become already the important operating system on the planet. And it will become more important and it will become, more common. It has proven its position within companies. So companies know that by using Linux, they can save a lot of money as compared to the older Unix versions, or they can open up their solutions and have software that works better, and that's just going to deepen. Uh, Linux in 5 years is a lot of embedded Linux, of course. If you are waiting in your car in front of a traffic light, for example, you are waiting for Linux in many cases. If you are watching a movie in the airplane, you are watching a movie on a Linux platform. And that is becoming more and more significant as it's an open platform and it is easy to implement, and there's a lot of knowledge available about Linux, basically everywhere. And what we will see in the next 5 years, and that's going to proceed a little bit longer as well, is that there are coming more skilled people that have learned how to work with Linux at school, and that is really going to help Linux to move forward even much better, because Linux is the opposite of proprietary software.
Mm-hmm.
And proprietary software, that is the way of thinking like, hey, I've got a secret, and if you like it, you can buy it. And the way how Linux works really corresponds to the way how people communicate to one another. Linux is a joint community effort. It's the result of people working together. And because of that, it is the greatest operating system currently available, and it will only get bigger as people start to see that. Everybody is adopting to open source. Even companies like VMware and Microsoft have an open source policy now. So open source, well, it is winning, and it will only get bigger.
Yes, open source is great. You know,
It's
I loved how you spoke about that in the embedded Linux, because anyone that was willing to listen to me, I tell them Linux is king. You need to know Linux, especially if you want to become an IT professional and you want to maintain having an IT career for many, many years. You should know
absolutely.
Linux. And you just proved my point. So thank you so much.
You are welcome, Tiffany.
All righty. Well, I just want to say thank you for your time today. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And can you just give your website one more time for how people can access you and access your courses?
Do you want me to put it in an email, or what? Which way would work best for you?
Okay. Yeah, let's do it in the email. That'd be great so I can
Yeah,
distribute that to folks.
just to make sure that we don't have any spelling issues or whatever.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiffany.
All right.
A
Bye-bye.
great day. Bye
You
bye.
too. Thanks. Bye.